Mike, it's been a busy weekend for the fight scene in New Zealand, and really busy for you.
Yeah, no, just got back from Dubai, so with the Alpha Fight Series. Of course, we had a couple of Kiwis on the card, 3 Kiwis on the card. Big Dave Tuitupo, Kane Conlon, and Himiota as well was on there. So good exposure for those guys to some really top tier guys. And I think Kane Conlon's fight, that was fight of the night for me. Against a guy who's fought for the Glory title, and I've got a lot of time for Kane. I think he's just a couple of beats shy of actually legitimately not just making it into the top 10, but being in the top 10 as a contender. I think also he gave away weight in that fight. The other guy was physically bigger, but boy, he fought really well. Dave fought a guy, Bruno Chavez Jr., who's got a lot of experience, who worked out very early. He got him paying attention to the right hand, and then he went downstairs to the calf. And Dave actually said that from the first calf kick, and he's got massive calves, as you know, it really debilitated him. So, I mean, you've got to credit strategy there. And Himiota Parsons Grace, he had a tough fight. Again, dealing with that Dutch style pressure going forward. And that's something that if we're going to be in that sort of European scene in particular, being able to deal with that pressure, the tight guard, the counter fighting, and the constant walking you towards the ropes, it's a big thing under K1 rules, and that's a skill set we all need to develop. Not just our slick skills from the outside, what do we do on the inside, how do we nullify that? So good experience for the guys. I think we're more than ready to be competing with those guys, and obviously we've got guys in the past like Israel and others who've done so, but it's good to see the young guys coming through and having that opportunity. And I think Kane in particular has shown that he belongs right there.
Yeah, well, as you say, he's fighting a weight up, usually around the 65, fought at 68. Plus, he hasn't been really active, so I was the same as you, fight of the night for me. Kane.
And records are deceptive too. And that's the beauty of kickboxing and MMA in particular, in that we're not predicated on this unrealistic expectation of being an undefeated beast. And sometimes you actually have to learn on the road. You learn from your defeats. And I think Kane's one of those guys who his record is deceptive. People underestimate him at their peril. He's fought a lot of good guys in China, a lot of good guys in Thailand. Now he's fought some of the best in the world for that Dutch style, even though the guy was German. He was from the Deckers gym, who didn't lose actually on that night. So really good experience for those Kiwis.
Tell us a little bit about the Alpha Fight Series and just how it went off, because as far as just buying a pay-per-view, it was a good experience,
Yeah, look, for sure. Good, great setup over there in Dubai, great venue in the agenda. Salim, who's from Australia, who was the promoter, really set it up well. Obviously, you've got a world-class commentary team. Michael Chiavello on board, and we all know about his experience with K1 and One Championship. In fact, it had been about 18 years since we'd worked together. Since we'd been in Tokyo working K1 together, so that was some great stuff. Lots of noise going on in the background as the boys leaving the gym. And Dan Hennessy. So there was a connection of guys from Australasia who were able to put together, a really good production there. And obviously working with Tiller, being able to put that on pay-per-view for the rest of the world to see was superb.
And then, of course, the big day, the next day, we've got the UFC, and didn't turn out the way we were expecting, I don't think.
No, look, I think there's a lot that can be done in that fight. Obviously, it's very upsetting to see Volk hurt, and that was a big right hand. Topuria was trying to work him to the cage, so he didn't have anywhere to move laterally, to take away Volk's strength, take away his his fighting IQ, and turn it into what works for him. And that was very hard to watch. But I think there's definite elements that can be worked on. And I think that given the opportunity for a rematch, there is a very, very strong possibility of reversing that result. Against a guy with that kind of one-punch power in the small gloves, obviously there's no room for error. And unfortunately there are a few errors made, and that's what happens. I think also let's just credit Volk as well for what he's done. He's put together, the second longest reign there. He's been dominant for a very, very long time, and it's inevitable that you get these young guys, the young lions coming up, and the mark of a fighter and a fighter's legacy, it's what he does when he experiences defeat a little bit out of his prime. Ali did it. Many fighters have done it. What can they do with their legacy to actually reclaim or push back the challenge of the young lions? And that gauntlet has now been laid out to Volk. And as we know, he's not a guy who steps back from a challenge. He's also a guy, and let's be fair, who owns a win or a loss. Very gracious in his defeat. No excuses. No trying to take credit away from Taporia for any reason. He's a great gentleman of our sport, a great ambassador of the sport, and he's one of the all-time greats. And I think, given the opportunity, he can come back and reverse that result, regardless of how devastating it was. And I also think he's more than earned the right to do that.
Mike, you've always been a great advocate for the fighter safety side of things, and concussion has been a big thing that you've stood up and fought hard for. How does that happen now with 2 knockouts in a row? Does he need a longer spell, or do you weigh that up against having too long?
So there's 2 aspects you look at. One is the physical, and is he passing the concussion protocols that he needs to return to play? And that's ticking off that box first. That takes as long as it takes. It takes as long as the doctors and the specialists will say. So that, to an extent, is beyond our control. And the next thing, and people don't talk about it enough, is the mental aspect of a KO loss. That can be difficult, but Volk has a pretty cast iron mindset. So really we have to factor in those 2 things. First up is very much the physical side of things. And then, as we say, I know Volk's attitude is I want to get in there, I want to reverse it. And we'll deal with that as we go on. Obviously, Joe Lopez is his head coach over at Freestyle, so he'll have very good systems in place to deal with that. And our end will put in our input where it's required, and we'll just see where that turns out. But obviously, a rest is the appropriate thing to do. At this point, after a knockout loss, and you've got to rest the mind and the body.
The good thing was he seemed real sharp straight afterwards, and that's got to be a good sign, I guess.
Yeah. Again, you just need to work that out over time. Would like to add as well, big congratulations to Robert Whittaker too. Coming back from a KO loss to Duplessis, perhaps a surprising KO loss. He got clipped by the spinning hook kick and a couple of follow-ups. Costa was sharp, Costa looked in good nick, and Costa was ready to go. So that was a different Costa from ones we've seen perhaps in his last couple of fights. I think he was hungry, he was ready to go. So Whittaker had a tough job in front of him against a guy who's dangerous when he's on form. So congrats to Rob for his performance. He's rightly in the top 3 or 4 in the world, and that's as it should be. And again, I think given his day, I think he can beat Duplessis as well. So the middleweight division is now alive. It's alive and well. Looking forward to seeing what's next for Israel as well, obviously.
Hey Mike, thanks very much. That's always an in-depth rundown, and let everybody know what's happening. I appreciate it much.
Yeah, no problem. And we've got a busy few months coming up with obviously different guys in the UFC and different announcements about to be made. So stay tuned. We've got lots going on.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, buddy.
Brilliant.
Easy work.
You'll be able to go and catch that man there, the junior.
Oh, yeah, if he's actually turned up.
Oh, that's good. Oh, is this something?